tries to tell the mother, but look, Mom, I'm your mother, I'm your daughter. You're supposed to look out for me first. Why aren't you looking out for me? She ignored it. She has no use for the one that's independent, that doesn't need her. She loves to look for those who have needs and cultivate the needs. She loves the power. She loves those people, those imbeciles looking up to her. The more she helps them, the more dependent they are, and the more they seem to love her because they cry in need for her services and compassion. That's government. It can only lead to one thing. You're not very far away from self-destruction. America is about to have a revolution. Remember I told you when it happened. Violent revolution. That's why they're trying to take the guns away. You see, in America, they've got guns. You can't fight back. All you can do is complain. That's right. How did that get there? I didn't see anybody. Good Lord. Was I in a trance or something?
The fact you didn't see it do it.
Yes. Never. Under no conditions. Hold it. Hold, don't even finish. Hold it. Hold, don't even finish. It's at the end of the conversation. I'll let you finish in a minute. I'll let you finish. I'm just kidding you. No, not every issue. Said it was every issue. They should be. That's right. That's correct. That's correct. That's correct. Yes, absolutely. Right. Okay. I wouldn't argue with that. We have an intelligent female here. Little impotent upstart. Just kidding. I love it. I love the intelligence. But most men don't love intelligent women. They don't love good women. They love women to make them feel good. But they don't love good women. If you're good and you're centered and you're bright, like this lady is, you're not valued. In other words, you have to have a lesser consciousness, which makes a man feel better about whatever his desires are, right? Yes, to understand your needs. Good point, good point. Very well said. You're going to have your hands full if you marry that one. Good though. Nor should they. See, the trouble is, you're bringing me to men and women relationship. Why did you do this? I've got new people, I don't want to drive them off. Relationship. Why did you do this? I've got new people, I don't want to drive them off. No, the truth, you're right there, you see. But you bring me right back, Eddie, to the opening remarks, and you weren't here for that. I said, there's got to be something in you that's noble. Fathers, there's got to be something in you that's noble. Fathers have to have a father in them. They have to have a spirit that the children can recognize. The fathers mustn't have the spirit of the world, the spirit of drunkenness, the spirit of promiscuity, the of womanize, looking for their support from every Tom, Dick, and Harry. That's homosexual, actually, but from every skirt that passes around. They can't be focused on mom's pleasures, love. There's something wrong. Children see dad focused in on mom. That's some kind of special weird thing they got going. Send that kind of love, that sensuous love, and become sensible. They need a sensible love. And women need it too. Women need that quality in a man that knows what's right, has a keen sense of justice, is fair. In other words, it's not a I'm always right and you're always wrong situation. See, it's not that right and you're always wrong situation. See, it's not that. It's a clean sense of justice, which is very manly. It doesn't have to have its way, but once what's right, if the wife is right, then oh yeah. But he's not persuaded by pressure from the wife that something's right when it isn't. See? Men, if you're going to be married, and you're already learning this, Eddie, if you're going to be married, you really have to love what's right more than your wife. Now that's a scary one, because you see what we have in our society is the love that makes the world go round. The love that makes the world go round is the lie. The romantic lie, the romantic insanity, being nurtured psychosexually, becoming addicted to that process, and then a woman becoming disgusted, this little wimp, requiring excessive services and drawing the worst out of her to serve the worst in him, and her feeling conflict over it too, and then feeling like she wants to spit the little, and her feeling conflict over it too, and then feeling like she wants to spit the little bugger out, excuse the expression. Ooh, it came back to me. I've been in England too long. See? The women have contempt for men who grub at the feet for a little security. Men have to be men, not worried whether their wives love them or not worried whether their children love them or not worried to win a popularity contest, but they should simply know what's right and impose it. Simply, not with force, but with dignity. That dignity, when it's tested, never loses its cool, never gets upset, to a will, with a will. See? That's the secret right there. That is always eventually becomes the natural authority that both wives and children respect. It doesn't dominate, it doesn't degrade, it upgrades by its stand, because it only reminds everybody of what they ought to be. And I came in, reminds everybody of what they ought to be. And I came in the program telling you that I don't want you to learn anything that you don't already know. So you have to hold up what they should already know, but they've forgotten for the moment because their passion, the ego's got in the way. All you have to do is hold it up. They'll run out, it's got in the way. All you have to do is hold it up. They'll run out, slam the door, come in and say, sorry, Dad. That's all they needed. That's all. All America needs, all that England needs is someone who holds that up, and this whole country could be cured. One person. Reagan almost did it. He was just a sweet, fine, good guy, good-natured. He didn't have a great. His wife, Jean Wyman, is it? Yeah, she divorced him. He didn't want to be divorced. And he's had his family problems the country needed. And the young people loved it. And he could have... Reagan asleep is more than, Jimmy Carter and all the others, Clinton, awake. He is. Just because there's something about him that you kind of like and respect. And the whole country flourished, even though he made a few mistakes. And respect. And the whole country flourished, even though he made a few mistakes. If some of his administration weren't the best, he didn't have the best choices. You never know who betrays you in business. You don't. But the point is, something about him that made America flourish for a while. But you see, but the kids of the rebellious moms, the liberals always trying to turn us population kids, the electorate, against their dad. That's the old game that. I didn't finish off the point I was making about Aldous Huxley. They had this concentration camp. Remember and they held up absurdities, made people study nonsense, create intrigue, tittle-tattling, tale-bearing, snitching, betraying, pressures, didn't give them good food. Anyway, the pressures were horrendous, just like exactly what you find in a home. This is it's not exact figures, but rough figures. 20% went insane. They're no threat in a society. Insane people are no threat to anybody. It's a good industry. 20%, they've rebelled. They have spirit. They shot those. Another 25% commit suicide. They're no threat. What remained became loyal communists. And you could release them from the camp, and they would be change agents anywhere in the world. They know exactly. You could train them and teach them and bring them up in the ways of communism. And you could set them as in the embassies and the universities, and they would do their job. Teaching communism, holding up the absurdity, using the same principles that corrupted them to corrupt the schools. And so that's what they've done. They've corrupt the schools. And so that's what they've done. They've infiltrated you see those massive purges in Russia. People didn't conform, and they killed 70 million of them. You always find that. People hurt spirit. That's why Russia can't recover, because they killed all the ones that are any good. That's why Russia can't recover, because they killed all the ones that are any good. So, insane asylums were full of kind of sane people who didn't know how to deal with it. Schizophrenia, all kinds of different mental illnesses. That's what's happening in America. Suicide rate is going sky high. It's the second leading cause of death in America for young people. Isn't that nice? And of course, on top of that, they encourage sexual promiscuity, drugs, they encourage wild music. Also, they infiltrate through the arts, hold up absurd art as if it was art. Artists. You know, you take an artist that is struggling and he's a bit of a nutcase, and all you have to do is make the news that this painting, that was this nutcase painting with chicken feathers and excrement and whatever it is they put on the canvas and excrement and whatever it is they put on the canvas, see, has meaning. And pay $1 million for it, or pounds for it. Well, the papers would pick that up, wouldn't they? And everybody would try to see what they could read into it, like a Rorschach test. You know. And a Rorschach test. You know. And they actually would go up in value, and this crazy artist would become well known. Picasso, you know, he knew that. He knew that he had gradually become a non-artist, because he started off as a halfway decent artist. After a while, almost any piece of junk he'd write on a napkin or a serviette. They call them serviettes here, right? Anything he could make, $50,000 or $10,000 or $500 just for a nonsense drawing on a piece of paper, because Picasso did it. He was like printing his own money. But he knew that was insanity, and he was losing and he had no respect for the society that set him up that way. He just didn't have to try anymore. He just did all kinds of junk drawings. And when I looked at those drawings, I said, this is junk. But when people look, those connoisseurs look at their drawings, there's drawings as Picasso. I almost said it wrong. So there's something wrong. There's something wrong with our society. We can be made to believe anything. And art translates from generation to generation something aesthetic value in a wordless way. You corrupt the art, you corrupt the music, you corrupt everything, and when you've done, you ruin society. You could corrupt the church, and it's gone, collapsed. The national identity disappears. The lady behind you. I know, it's all right. I put it.
I am mentally retarded because when I was a baby.
You're not mentally retarded.
I am retarded. When I was a baby, my mother used to make me scream. She hated me and she never came there. She was rejected me. And then I think maybe when you were starving, you made pregnant and made that great, and then you might say that I will get you.
Well, that's sweet. We'll do that later. Well, I'll be happy. I'll do something more than that. Take your glasses off. I suppose you need a little love, isn't it? Now, don't discount simple acts of love and being loved in the right way. All right, that's all she wanted. If love is real, it doesn't take much, does it? I'm trying to tell you before about fathers, especially dads, because we need more dads in this society. And we need to have love in dads. What I mean by love is simply I'm taking you too far and fast. I hope I'm not. But what we need is fathers. I hope I'm not. But what we need is fathers who have a father in them. That when I was saying before that men should love what's right more than their wives, it doesn't mean say if a man doesn't love what's right in his heart, and when a wife tests it, and he's not found one, and women do, and children do. That's their role. So they need love too. So if men become the center of love in a family, and if you're self-sufficient and you're grown up and you don't need to be married, you ladies, then you found your center, and you want to be a nun or something like that, or you don't want to be an ascetic, if you want to live your life without being married, because there are hardly any men anymore. The older you get, the wiser you get, the narrower the field, and pretty soon there's none. Right? There's none. I don't mean the pun. I mean, don't get none. Can't take it a little further. Can't take it a little further. So, the point is, there's got to be love, and love is non-sexual. You have to stop being a female and become a woman. A woman is a downgrade, an upgrade from the void. A selfish woman seeking to service a selfish man, and that's what the problem is when selfish women seek to selfish men to love them, and they provide a service. It becomes like government. They give you everything you want. They take everything you get to get it. See, everything you've got to get it. It's the same old principle to get it. It's the same old principle in government as with relationship. But when you're talking about when you have a man that has little need, he has a need to reproduce, of course. But if he has no psychological need, then he has the discipline to let all the ladies that would tempt him go by. See? He doesn't fall into that relationship. See? He doesn't fall into that relationship. He saves himself for a noble woman. So if there is one, fine. If there isn't one, he goes sailing off into yonder, escaping it all. And it's the same with a woman. A woman should hold herself out. With a woman. A woman should hold herself out. And not to fall into that relationships and cheapen herself. Now, this is not what you're taught in school. But if you want to find a noble person, if you're going to get a character person, or you're going to get a character, one of the two. You're of being of too easy virtue. Hold yourself back. Don't fall into that pit. You don't give in to your feelings, and look at the longings for a man, and look at the longings for a woman, and understand that that you can't give way to that. If you do, it's a way of life in which you find yourself ensnared. And we're going to discuss it later. Later I'm going to tell you how those longings grow so that you can't fight them. So, yeah, you're going to say something, I'm sorry. I'll be with you in a minute. Yes. I didn't mean to move you. I just don't. It's the love that makes all right. It's the love that makes all right. See, it's the natural touch. And men can have hunger for a woman's touch, and it can be very exciting, and touches. But there can be wrong touches too. You could be touched. But not everybody will have that need. She had it, and I was able to give it. And that's all there is. I didn't feel embarrassed about it because it was a genuine love. She knew what she needed to make her well. She's not retarded. She's an intelligent lady. But there's something inside her that makes her feel retarded, and there's what was done to her as a kid. See, and so therefore it takes an authority of good love to undo it. It takes the same strength to undo that. See? The same relationship, but in reverse. To counter-traumatize the person. As a matter of fact, the techniques that I'm teaching you, the techniques that I'm teaching you on those cassettes, which if you should elect to get them, is a counter-trauma. You actually learn how to de-traumatize yourself. Awakening is like, wow, it's like a breath of fresh air. Sometimes it's a very big shock experience, you see. But it is a counter-trauma. You start to be refixed to the inner and not fixed it. In other words, what I'm saying is that the average person is so focused on his problems, so focused on other people's services and false love. The understanding of the world. That they're focused outwardly and focused away from the inner. That's why they never find it. It's like having a radio set with 2 channels only. One clicked over to one, you've missed the other one. One clicked over to one, you've missed the other one. See? But a searching person, a person who's not searching, is totally focused away from seeing the truth onto the uprush of feelings for the life that leads to death. The uprush of lying feelings. The uprush of lying feelings. Sensuous feelings to replace the sensible way of life. It's a sensual way of life. You see, your life has 2 possibilities. You know, right and wrong, and one is sensible and one sensual. Sensible has to prevail. It has to grow in you stronger than the sensual. And so the struggle of life basically is for the sensible to replace the sensual eventually. If you don't do that, the sensual, the spirit of the sensual, will replace the spirit of the sensible. A mess. Huh? Do you understand that? It's the inner man or the inner woman that we're talking about here. And that you have to, it's up to you. That God gives you that choice, which way you want to go. Yes, sir.
What you're actually talking about is,
Sir.
what you're actually talking about is food for the ego. It's like an ego.
I'm talking about there is food for the ego, but then you have to lay down that ego food.
Is it possible for the ego eventually to die and do visit?
Well,
Had to give it up.
well, it is a dying, but it isn't.
Had to give it up.
Well, it is a dying, but it isn't an instant death. It's a gradual starvation. You know, you starve it.
Yeah.
If every time you give in to a pleasure, you know you shouldn't, it creates a greater lust for it that never satisfies. Is that right?
Yeah.
And that often passes for love, doesn't it? And devotion to the people who supply it. And so you have, in one sense, a world of politics and evil that the addict, for example, is down that line of quite a distance, because he thinks that what is evil is good, because it understands the little evil cry that is being nurtured by the pusher. It's wrong, it's evil, it's sickness. Every high is a new low, but the addict cannot, or will not, or cannot, one of the two, understand the dilemma of his way, because the more he imbibes, the more conflict he has over it, and the greater pain. Because what is the pain of a drug addict? The pain is that the conscience reappearing, tormenting him. It's psychological or spiritual pain. And I can show you with guaranteed, not with everybody, but only people who are ready, of course. You can't force this on anyone. But a person that's ready can be changed from a drug addict into a normal person in a space of 15 seconds. If you have an experience like that lady does, suddenly, they realize they're forgiven, and their judgments fall away, and they're forgiven. They realize their problems come from hating their parents and that world, and the world's inside them now, and it's tormenting them. You did? You are? Yeah. You see, you didn't know it. You didn't realize that what it was. Well, I'm glad to hear it. You got more money to send me now.
Back to the fathers again. I've got to get this one. What about, like, for instance, every son should have a father. It's very important.
Yes.
I don't know. I had one, but
You have him in me.
yes.
You make me your father.
Yeah, that's right.
For a little while. For a little while.
I'm on myself. I have to be dog. I'm married 31 years.
Yeah, I know.
Myself.
I have 85-year-old men. I know. I have 85-year-old men make me their father for a season. Because they need to have that connection to the father. Isn't it strange that I'm a younger man than him, but they still have to make me their father? Because they need to respond respectfully to the physical form. And any man can respectfully to the physical form. And any man can do that. You can adopt, and it's a natural instinct to adopt a father like that. And women will do it too.
My father never had it either.
No.
His father.
No.
When my father's mother died when he was 10, and my mother died when I was.
Yeah.
My father was preached all his life.
Yeah.
When he son, he never took me to father.
Yes. Yes.
He regretted it. But at the end of the day, he said what one of his parting shots was at least you did a better job at the
Look, what he's really trying to tell you is, I don't know how to do it, son. I'm compulsive. I don't understand the mystery of life. I don't understand your mother. I understand my job. I can't stand it anymore. My head is full. Please, but he loves you.
Yes.
Deep down inside. You know, I've had a woman come to me and say, you know, my father was a drunk. He was the most confusing man. And he didn't know how to deal with my mother. And he didn't know how to deal with my mother. And I'm telling you, he died, and my mother's still around, a very confusing lady. But I knew he loved me because she could tell it. Because there's just a beautiful woman, because she could tell that. And he wanted to love his daughter, but he couldn't stop reacting to his wife and everything around him, all his job and the pressures. But she could tell that, and that's what saved her. She never had the touch of her father, but there was just the knowledge that the father loved her. That was enough. And I confirmed that, and that was enough. She straightened right up. Because women are looking for men that are really men. Isn't that right, ladies?
Yeah.
There's a shortage of men, isn't there?
But it's been through that, about a year of tenacity. You hit it on the head.
Yeah.
That was it. My wife said to me, Alicia, you're good at it. My wife said to me, Alicia, you're good at it. I had a bit around, and there's all the experiences that I had.
Are you all right now? You're doing
Yeah.
better? Doing better.
I know I'm here, better still.
Are you married?
I've been married 31 years.
Are you married 31 years?
Yeah.
What did you marry? When did you get married? When you were 10? Years?
Yeah.
What did you marry? When did you get married? When you were 10?
I was 20. I was 20.
So you're 40 now?
51.
51? Oh, 31 years. That's 21.
I'm a granddad as well.
You need to look young? Good Lord.
And they got all of my school, as you would pick.
I know what.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Now, I'm going to give you a few minutes rest here, or you have any questions you would like to... yeah, a lady way over there. Could you stand up so we can see you? I'm glad. Hi, Margie. Thank you. That's nice.
Yeah, right.
That's nice.
All the best things are well hidden.
Oh, yeah.
I found it by accident when Radio Caroline. I was picking up on radio set, which my daughter, she was 13 years of age.
Made a difference.
Oh, yeah. Well,
Now, I just want to say this to... Made a difference.
oh, yeah. Well,
Now, I just want to say this to my new friends. I hope my new friends are my friends here. That there is this danger of being caught up with me. Fair enough?
yeah.
In other words, you get caught up with everything. Fair enough?
Yeah.
In other words, you get caught up with everything you do. The problem you have is because you're caught up with something. You're caught up with your mom, you're caught up with the dad you hate, you're caught up with music, you're caught up with your boyfriend. Everything is vexing you. It's the caught upness with anything, what it fails to deliver, that you think of as injustice. That's the problem. The whole problem, however, there is a proper caught upness because you don't have the support mechanisms yet. That's why you have to love the Father you can see, because you can't love the Father you can't see if you don't. It's an easy transfer to their conscience because they have a dad that was always there, shielding them from the world, stronger than the world, stronger than their mom, yes. Mum appreciates it too. So they're all appreciate their father. They're not wimps. They'll fight me right to the ground if they think I'm wrong. I like that. They'll fight me right to the ground if they think I'm wrong. I like that. See? I'm usually not wrong. It's important to usually not be wrong, but I'm wrong, I'll admit it. See? The trouble with most people, they can't admit their faults. I'd admit my faults if I had any. They can't admit their faults. I'd admit my faults if I had any. There, you can hear me now, can't you? Can you hear me, Mother?
No, I can't hear.
You can't hear it? You can't hear over there?
It must be me. I don't know if I was going dead or what.
Can you hear me? You're next to her? Good Lord. You're just blocking me out then.
I can hear the gist of it, but
Come sit over here.
Would it be any better, do you think?
Can you hear me all right back there? I'll keep saying.
I'm happy to.
Yeah. Can you come a little bit closer? Whoever feels like they can't hear me can come real close.
I'm all right.
Are you all right?
Yes, thank you.
Can you hear okay there? Fine. I think you're blocking me out. Too decrepit. Yes, it's this Father you can't see quality. The Father you can't see delivers you to the Father you can see delivers you by His example and His respect. The respect you have for the Father you can see is about way of loving the Father you can't see inside yourself. That's why it's important to have noble school teachers. Noble, see, yes sir, and don't call them Frank. You don't want, in our school in America, in most schools in America, the boys call their dads by their first name. And, they don't have much respect for their teachers because most of them are not terribly respectable. I don't know where they get them from. But the point is, in our school, I take some of the English tradition. Yes, Mr. Matthews. No, Mr. Matthews. And we have every one of our teachers is carefully. Yes, Mr. Matthews. No, Mr. Matthews. And we have every one of our teachers is carefully screened for virtue. We won't have any unvirtuous teachers. You cannot learn from an unvirtuous teacher except to be unvirtuous. See? And so we're living in a secular society, but it's a private school, and so we can do what we want. We don't teach religion, but we are. That's what religion is, to respect your parents. If they're good, you become good too. And know what goodness is without anyone telling you. Isn't that nice? Of caught-upness, I may coin a new word. There is a danger that you put me on a pedestal and expect me to save you. And you will do it even in spite of me telling you not to do it. It's your nature. You cannot help it and get a feeling back from it, like salvation. In other words, if you take a young man with a nice new car, and he buys the little furry things that he puts on the dashboard and seat covers, and then he polishes his car. Care. Through the fingers of his hands while he's polishing that car, that love he gives to the car gives him back a feeling of love. He's not being loving that car, he's doing something to that car does something for him. And then he buys his wife or his girlfriend a beautiful fur coat, a diamond. He's not giving anything to that woman. He can rub the woman like he rubs the car, and he gets a feeling back. See? It's not real love. What you're doing is investing something in the woman, like you invest something in liberality. You invest somebody in some superstar. The people go crazy. Because the superstar loves what you love. You give him money, $30 a ticket, yell and scream, and everybody, you love them, they love you. It's a salvation experience. It's a false salvation. It's a salvation from salvation. They're saving you from the need. False salvation. It's a salvation from salvation. They're saving you from the need that you need to be saved. You don't want to see how wrong you are. So the egos collectively elect a God, an earthy God, and they're the God makers greater than the God. That, see, it's like the woman who elects her husband to be the boss. She's the boss maker, greater than the boss. His existence depends upon her, what she thinks of him. And he loves it and gives something back. And see, so that what you do is that you've got to be very careful that you don't send me money or buy my materials and have a picture of me on the wall. Now, the reason why the foundation doesn't grow with lots and thousands and millions of raving followers is I won't play any games. You can't. You can try to lock into me, but I'll loosen you up. I'll always throw you back on yourself, and you may feel that. You can try to lock into me, but I'll loosen you up. I'll always throw you back on yourself, and you may feel that as rejection and resent me for it. When you resent me for it, you'll need me more. You become all the more determined to get my love. Is that right? Did anybody?
When I first had your tapes, you used to have headphones on. It used to irritate me at first. But you still recognize what was there. There's another part of you that was being.
What do you have to say to people who can say God is you? You often hear of people referring to God as a she. That's what you
Well, you should worship a God as a woman and see where it gets them. I don't want to argue with it. See how far it gets them. I mean, you have a big enough trouble conceiving of a God as in the male form. But I will, if you should elect to return, what time is it? Do you realize I've been talking to you for 2.25 hours? It doesn't seem like it, does it? What time is our break? 1, all right. 1, okay. 1, okay. Can't believe what's happened to the English language. I'm telling you, I left in England, there was Cockneys, and there was people from Manchester, and there was people from Ireland and Scotland, and you knew where they were from. Now it's all mixed up. You want me to say so? I don't like to listen to you, so shut up. Let me talk. I don't have. If someone says to you, "Well, you've lost your English accent," I said, "Which one?" I'll tell you what I like the best. I want to think out loud. I like the Irish accent. It's new. What you guys have got, you got to better look in the mirror and change it. Because I think the English language is becoming corrupted here. English language is such a beautiful language. Magnificent. Why don't you hang on to it? I know you feel comfortable with it. What you think any good? Okay? That's what I mean right there. See, I do that. I don't mean to put you down or anything.
You mean that pronunciation?
But yeah, the way you pronounce your words. I got a son who can imitate anything. And he's here. Well, no, one of them's here. One of them can do just every voice, every famous person. You can hardly tell the difference. He's just a barrel of laughs. But they come here within... when my son came here last time, he found that the cabbies would take advantage. He found that the cabbies would take advantage of it because he thought he was an American, so he spoke perfect English. I say, old boy. Or he would imitate a Cockney and be one of them, and they wouldn't take advantage of him. See? But if he can learn in 24 hours to speak Cockney, maybe you can learn to speak English in 24 hours. See? But if he can learn in 24 hours to speak Cockney, maybe you can learn to speak English in 24 hours. Just try imitating an Englishman, and maybe you'll... You know how to speak that way, don't you? Sort of thing? Yes. That's right. That's right. That is right. You don't say, that's me father. I try to get a kid to say, that's my father. It's a difficulty saying that. I said, they allow you to speak that way in school? Yes. It reminds me of the father says, The boy says, "Hey, Dad, pass the bread and butter." The father says, "Don't say pass the." The father says, "Don't say pass the bread and butter, you little slob. Say pass the bread and butter." It's okay, Dad. Pass the bread and butter. He says, "That's better." What? Yeah, well, no, you don't want to. You know, you got to be careful. He said, "I have a nephew. We're just sort of heavy for the last couple of hours, so I'm just giving a little sort of musical interlude, if you don't mind. I have a nephew who spoke the most beautiful musical English. You know, some English is so beautiful. Who was that lady that sings The Sound of Music? Yeah, she speaks absolutely beautiful. Yeah, she speaks absolutely beautiful English, not affected, but clear like a bell ringing. It's like music. You want to listen to it. You see, the other language sounds like it's from the gutter. I don't mind being rude. It sounds like it's straight from the gutter. It's all totally corrupted, and one from the gutter. It's all totally corrupted, and one doesn't. I think it comes from a rebellion against the la-di-das. You know, it's like you don't want to be like them, so you want to be like the rest of the guys. But you don't have to be a la-di-da like them. You can still have good English and not be a la-di-da. You don't have to be hypocrite. Speak good English of you. I think that's such an advantage, don't you?
I find that I don't speak correctly usually because I don't want to be noticed.
That's right. And my son, my nephew said he did the same thing. He just didn't want to be noticed. What's wrong with being noticed? Is there anything wrong with you? You want to melt?
I'm not a Londoner. I've originally come from Bristol.
Well, we'll fit. Yeah. Well.
I had to drop. I dropped all that terrible Dutch chocolate.
Raise it up a little bit higher. You'll be in good shape.
Yeah.
You've got to be distinguished, and language distinguishes you. For these thousands of years, I mean, it's such a beautiful. English is the most beautiful language in the world. All the rest of it sounds double Dutch to me, anyway. I'm doing it. Did you realize that it's about time you stood out? See? And stood up. That's why you don't stand up anymore, because you're afraid to stand out. You're afraid to look like you're critical. You're afraid to look different from everybody else, and you don't know how to take criticism. But the more you shine, the more you're going to stand out, whether you like it or not, whether you stand out. When you start out, you better even stand out even brighter by having beautiful language with which to correct others with. Someone's going to lead the way, someone's going to lead the way. You'll get a much better job as You'll get a much better job as not as a noble spirit, but you get much more respect. Not only as a noble spirit, but if you speak the language well. You know, so people, when I was over in America, they say, to them I sound English. To them I sound English. I mean, there are some words I have to be careful of, and like the word butter. The first time I went to America, I sat there and I had an egg sandwich and on toast. I wanted some butter. I said to the man, "Could I have some butter, please?" "Yeah?" I said, "Butter." He said, "Huh? You got no butter?" I said, "No, butter, B-U-T-T. Oh, butter." The rough language. And you upgrade yourself as you upgrade your language, or as you upgrade yourself, you're going to bring the language up with you. You want to present yourself in the most perfect way possible, don't you? To your children and everyone else.
I used to phone a lot, actually.
To your children and everyone else.
I used to phone a lot, actually.
Hmm?
I talk different on the phone. Very much what I do. I'll work on it.
So, do you have any odds and ends of questions before we break for lunch? Yes. Yes. She speaks better than you do. Sounds all right to me. She's probably better off than she thinks she is. You know, she's probably better off than she thinks she is, because you people, when you're little, you're much better off than the people around you, but they convince you that you don't know. I mean, when you have common sense, and you don't have them that lord it over you and act like they have more than you and know more than you and smarter than you, you sometimes don't realize. I was saying to my sons the other day, I said, you don't realize, fully appreciate, maybe that's the word, are fully conscious of the fact that you have something that the rarest thing in the whole world that's making my family shines. We are the most prominent family in that area. We had a lot of persecution. They tried to make me look like a cult leader and all kinds of. You know how the American press hold up somebody good and ridicule them and hold up somebody bad and glorify that. It didn't work anymore. I got my own radio station. My kids have their own restaurants. And
for more information, please write to FHU 27 Old Gloucester Street, London, WC1N 3X.